Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 29th of December 2021, just 3 days to go before the year ends. Nevertheless, a lot of important segments to discuss with you during the course of the show, and we will begin with Afghanistan and 2021. What it has meant for Afghanistan, what it has meant also for Pakistan's efforts as far as stabilizing Afghanistan is concerned. Afghanistan has gone through many changes, whether it be a change in government, the Afghan Taliban taking over, whether it be the crisis, the humanitarian and economic crisis that has engulfed Afghanistan, whether it be the US and other Western countries freezing assets of Afghanistan, which leads to more economic turmoil for the country, whether it be Pakistan's efforts as far as stabilizing Afghanistan is concerned, through the extraordinary summit of the OIC Council of Foreign Ministers that happened a couple of days back as well, the pledges that were made there, and how Pakistan continues to endeavor so that Afghanistan becomes a stable country. This is going to be our leading segment. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the national security policy that has been approved by the federal cabinet after it was green lit by the National Security Committee. And of course, the military spokesperson has also said that the armed forces will be playing their role in achieving the vision laid out in the policy. Although we do not have the policy in black and white in front of us, there are different aspects to that policy that are very important for Pakistan and for Pakistan's relationship with the future, and Pakistan that wants to concentrate towards geoeconomics instead of geostrategy. Now, this is going to be our second segment. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk in our third story about Madagascar that has experienced the world's first climate change famine as per the United Nations. The United Nations says that tens of thousands of people are suffering catastrophic levels of hunger and food security after 4 years without any rain. And this has led to a lot of people even eating shoes. A very, very disastrous condition in Madagascar, and let's hope that some kind of betterment prevails in that region now that some countries might be ready to help the country. Let's begin with our first segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns Afghanistan 2021 and how that year has changed Afghanistan, whether for the better or the worse, whether the change is going to help Afghanistan or not. More in the following report.
The new Afghanistan stands at the crossroads after hasty US withdrawal, followed by crippling economic sanctions on interim Afghan government. American move of freezing approximately $9.5 billion Afghan assets and blocking aid precipitated trickle-down misery which brutally affected every segment of the society. Afghanistan's fragile economy went into freefall, leaving millions facing hunger and making once well-off middle-class families destitute. The consequences of Afghanistan's collapsing economy are becoming more apparent. Reports of hospitals without electricity, severe malnutrition, and 3 or 4 children in one hospital bed, and tens of thousands of unpaid doctors, teachers, and civil servants struggling to survive. The United Nations has warned that around 22 million Afghans, or more than half of the country, will face an acute food shortage in the winter months due to the combined effects of drought caused by the global warming and an economic crisis. Washington-based transitional think tank International Crisis Group warned that hunger and destitution could kill more people than all the bombs and bullets of the past 2 decades. Taliban and other regional actors have urged to the US to ease sanctions and release Afghanistan's overseas assets in order for the interim government to be able to pay teachers, doctors, and other public sector employees. Moreover, amid growing international concerns regarding human rights, the Taliban promised tolerance and inclusiveness toward women and ethnic minorities. Emerging as an epicenter of diplomatic efforts, Islamabad hosted a landmark moot on Afghanistan to pave way for resolution of Afghanistan's quandary. The empty eyes of hungry children and the anguished faces of desperate parents reflect humanitarian meltdown of Afghanistan, and the main burden of Afghanistan's imminent collapse would fall upon the neighboring countries.
to talk more about Afghanistan and Pakistan's role as far as stabilizing our neighborly country. We've been joined by Asim Iftikhar Saab. He is the spokesperson of the Foreign Office in Pakistan. Thank you very much, Asim Saab, to have joined us. Asim Saab, I'd begin with the quote that you said some time back, and you talked about the humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. You said that this crisis is quite big. It has been realized by the international community as the United Nations and various countries are coming forward to provide the required assistance to the people of Afghanistan. Is that happening? And if so, sir, do you feel some kind of respite in the future for the people of Afghanistan?
Yes, thank you very much. I think this is a very complicated situation that is facing the people of Afghanistan right now. And the main problem, if you appreciate it, is that there was no forum and no big international forum from where this issue was being projected. So Pakistan individually had been raising this matter. We had mobilized countries in the region, but I think a greater effort was required. So this came in the shape of this OIC extraordinary session that was requested by Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan offered to host it. I think it was a very successful event in that sense. It attracted wider participation from the international community. As you recall, there was 70 delegations, including OIC members, around 30 at ministerial and deputy ministerial level. And then we had the P5 and the IFIs and UN and its agencies and others. So this provided a broad platform. It was able to discuss the issues confronting the people of Afghanistan, and the outcome was very substantive. I would say it is actionable outcome. We had the Humanitarian Trust Fund that has been established, will work under the auspices of the Islamic Development Bank. We have the food security program that has been established. Then we have a special envoy who will mobilize all these efforts, will contact with the member states and the UN and do all the coordination work. And then the most important elements about, the sanctions that are in place, they were addressed. There was a clear call that sanctions should not impede the delivery of humanitarian assistance. And then there was also discussion about, what steps can be taken for defreezing of Afghanistan's own financial assets. So I think it was very substantive. A lot of follow-up action will be required, and this is what we are looking at in the coming weeks.
When you talk of defreezing of the assets, Asim Saab, how much of a possibility do you see in the near future of that happening? We understand that a lot of aid from other quarters will be coming. Saudi Arabia has pledged, for example, 1 billion riyals. There are other countries that will either have come forward as well, the US as well, the other countries like EU as well. Do you feel that that aid, all of that aid combined, will reach the Afghan people in the required time before it is too late?
Yeah, I think that is a big challenge, and all of this has to be expedited. There are indications that the international community and especially the major stakeholders are taking it seriously. There are some positive steps that have already been taken. You would know the internal regulations that have been passed by the US government that would allow humanitarian assistance to go in despite the sanctions. And then you are also aware of the UN Security Council Resolution 2615 that has been adopted, and it has reaffirmed the principle that the existing UN sanctions, if there is humanitarian assistance provided to the Afghan people, then it would not constitute a violation of the existing UN sanctions. So these are steps which are being taken in the right direction. Within the US itself, there is growing concern, and I think lots of voices are being raised. You've seen the joint letter from the 14 former ambassadors and generals of NATO and US who have direct experience of working with Afghanistan. And then you saw the joint letter by the members of the Congress from both parties. Both of these communications addressed to the U.S. government recommended immediate steps to be taken by the U.S. to address the humanitarian requirements of the Afghan people and to find ways of providing the assistance in terms of financial assistance by finding ways of unfreezing Afghanistan's own assets which are out there in the U.S.
Asim Saab, 2021 comes to an end and there are a lot of expectations from the next year, whether it be in the form of maybe some kind of acceptance of the Afghan government, whether it be of the Afghan government understanding the preconditions that have been put forward by the West as far as its acceptance is concerned. Do you see also some kind of a light at the end of the tunnel next year as far as maybe some kind of acceptance of Afghanistan is concerned?
I think this is an important question that you have raised. This was also, pointed out by many delegations who attended the OIC conference. The expectations that are there from the rest of the international community vis-a-vis what the Afghan interim authorities need to do, I think that is also clear with regard to inclusivity, with regard to human rights, with regard to Afghan territory not being allowed to use for terrorism. I think these are very clear, and there are clear expectations from the Afghan authorities that they will take action. At the same time, there are clear expectations from the on part of the international community to step forward and assist the Afghan people in the immediate term. So I think both these strands will go together. There will be a lot of work that is required to be done. We, together with our partners and led by the OIC and the UN's engagement, we will be closely following up on the implementation of the decisions of the OIC conference. And as you know, there is this regular session of the OIC Foreign Ministers Conference, which will be held in March in Islamabad again. That will be another occasion to really take stock of where things stand. But you are right. There is a lot of urgency in this, and in that regard, I think all of us will have to move very quickly.
Sir, I'd like to quote something that you said as far as US-Taliban relations are concerned, where you said that in our view, the US-Taliban talks are significant and should continue, and there have been other engagements as well with the European Union and other countries, and we think these are positive developments. Do you see the relationship between the EU and the Taliban government, the US and the Taliban government strengthening next year?
I think all of these important players, they are already in one way or the other engaging with the new authorities, the interim authorities in Kabul. And some of this engagement was already before that. You know that, the U.S. had the Doha agreement with the Taliban. So, they kind of legitimized, that engagement was already there. And the special representative of the U.S. for Afghanistan has been engaging closely. They engaged during the Troika Plus meeting that was held in Islamabad. There was engagement again. There has been, interactions in Doha. Similarly, the EU has been engaging, and many other countries. Some countries are thinking of, bringing back the diplomatic missions to Kabul. I think there is a momentum, and based on the understanding that this engagement is required. So in whatever shape this will move forward, I think it's going to be important. But eventually, what you are pointing towards, the question of recognition also is very, very important, and it remains to be seen how it works out.
As far as Afghanistan is concerned, Asim Saab, there also has been a role of the extended troika that has been meeting on the situation in this very country. How important has its role been in 2021, and what do you predict from the extended troika meetings from 2022?
I think this is one of the most important forums, the Troika Plus, because it brings together the US, Russia, China, together with Pakistan, which is the immediate neighbor. And I think the involvement and positive and sustained engagement of these countries is very, very crucial for the future peace and stability of Afghanistan. So it was very instrumental. You saw that Pakistan was able to convene the Troika Plus meeting in Islamabad. It was very successful. All the partners in Troika Plus are very committed. And I think we can see some more positive outcomes from Troika Plus engagements in the next year.
When you look back at the year 2021, Asim Saab, how constructive, apart from, Pakistan's role has been instrumental as far as Afghanistan is concerned. But do you feel that other countries should have pitched in as well as far as Afghanistan in 2021 is concerned? Are there any feelings as far as other countries in the region is concerned that you feel, in your point of view, should have collaborated with Pakistan in helping Afghanistan?
I think some of the other countries were, you can say, they were slow in taking off. But eventually, I think everyone came on board, and Pakistan played a leading role in mobilizing, in the first place, the immediate neighbors of Afghanistan. As you recall, so we have now this six-country format constituting the immediate neighbors of Afghanistan. We've been able to forge a consensus, first of all, on the need to sustainably engage with the Afghan authorities, and we have been able to, develop an agreement also among the neighboring countries and the wider international community. And this you saw through the outcomes of the OIC conference, that leaving the political and other issues aside for the moment, the urgency of the situation requires that the humanitarian crisis and the risk of economic collapse, they need to be taken up on urgent basis. So I think we've been able to bring the major stakeholders together, and the ground is set now for further actions.
All right. And finally, Asim Saab, there have been certain spoilers as far as Afghanistan is concerned, its present, its past usage of that country against Pakistan as well. And I'd like to name India as one of those major spoilers. Do you feel that the international body understands the fact that India has been trying to create havoc in Pakistan through Afghanistan? And do you feel that there is a general recognition of that by the Afghan Taliban's government as well? And there is, of course, going to be an effort in 2022 as well from the Afghans to reduce that cross-border infiltration?
I think the India's role as a spoiler was already exposed for quite a long time in Afghanistan. Everyone was following what they were doing. They were trying to scuttle the peace process. Their role during all these developments before August, during that, and later on, trying to put the blame on Pakistan while trying to hide their own failures in Afghanistan, and trying to brush under the carpet their own, using their presence throughout those years in Afghanistan to foment terrorism and subversion in Pakistan. That is quite evident. But I think, yeah, you're right. There have been spoilers. There will be spoilers. But it's the responsibility of the international community to recognize that and to really make sure that such spoilers, which may be within Afghanistan or outside Afghanistan, they're not allowed to disturb the efforts for durable peace and stability in Afghanistan.
Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us and to have talked to us about Afghanistan, what it has meant for Pakistan in the year 2021, and the efforts that Pakistan has been making in order to stabilize our neighboring country. We are and we will continue to remain solid brothers in the years to come, and of course will continue to help stabilize Afghanistan. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. That was Asim Iftikhar Saab, Foreign Office spokesperson, joining us for this very important segment, NDA segment on Afghanistan. And in the studios now we've been joined by Umar Alisherzai Saab, who's a former ambassador. Sir, thank you very much to have joined us.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, 2021 comes to an end. A lot of developments in Afghanistan took place. There was a change in government, and then there is a humanitarian and economic crisis, and a very important OIC summit that happened in the month of December in Islamabad as well on the very issue of Afghanistan. If you had to look back at 2021 in the perspective from Afghanistan, what would you think would be the prime objectives as far as Pakistan has achieved?
Bismillah Rahman Rahim. In my opinion, now past is past and we should be careful about the future. 2021 was a little traumatic in a sense that in the rather till the end of 2021 there have been lot of infiltration and cross-border violations, of course sponsored by India and Israel, which resulted in thousands of human losses in our country. But Alhamdulillah, the end was good, and the Taliban government has taken over. And as soon as you remember, as soon as the Taliban took over, the Indians, they were finding no way how to run away from Afghanistan. So it was a big success for Pakistan as well. And my personal opinion is that inshallah, our success lies on our diplomacy and on our handling of the Afghanistan situation and the Taliban. I have been repeatedly saying wherever I happen to speak on the Afghan issue, that now it is high time for Pakistan. Pakistan has given a lot of help and support to the Taliban, which the Taliban of course recognize. But now it is time to cash on that investment that we have made. And the best investment would be that we recognize the Taliban government and we take them on board in order to curb all those infiltrations and all those espionage activities which were carried out from Afghan side against Pakistan. So the beginning is good, and I hope that it will go on, because the Taliban government, as I see, would be one of the most stable government. And lot of even, I belong to the border areas of Pakistan, which borders Afghanistan. And lot of Afghans are returning back to Afghanistan despite the economic hardships and things like that, but they are returning to Afghanistan. And everyone say that now there is peace in Afghanistan.
But there's a lot of economic instability as well. There's a huge humanitarian crisis that is engulfing Afghanistan and has engulfed Afghanistan. You know, the winters in Afghanistan are severe, and with the shortage of food, with the shortage of money, isn't Afghanistan going through a very, very troubling period? And if so, the preconditions that the West has put on in order to recognize the Taliban, do you feel that they will be acceptable in the short term or in the long term by the Afghan Taliban government? And if not, what is the alternative pathway?
Well, I personally feel that Americans are using those funds which they have blocked to strangulate the Afghan Taliban and to dictate their own terms. But having worked with Taliban and the Taliban leadership, they would not compromise on certain basic issues like the Sharia laws, or that there should be a cultural change, like that their women should put on skirts and things like that, which is not going to happen
But
in
education
Afghanistan.
for women is at least one important aspect.
You know, give them little time so that they can open up, give them finances so they can open up separate institutions. They will not allow the co-education, by the way.
All right.
But give them the opportunity, provide them funds so that they can open separate schools and universities for their women. They would not stop any women from getting education. They are aware of the importance of the women education, because if the women are not educated, who is going to treat their wives? You know, if there are not female doctors, how they would not allow
or teachers in order to teach
even
the children.
teachers and everything. So they realize the importance of the women education, but they are short of funds. They are short of resources.
Will those
Provide
funds reach?
them.
Will those funds reach in time?
Well, if that depends, you know, the Taliban action would certainly depend on how quick those finances are provided to the Afghans. But if the West and the Americans are using it as a blackmailing device, I think the Talibans are not going to accept.
All right. What about 2022?
And I tell you, I had an interesting discussion with late Mullah Umar.
All right.
In Kandahar, and I said that, look, the Americans they want to change your government. Would you take certain steps? Would you take certain steps to stop that kind of happening? His reply was that, ambassador, if a person is sleeping on a bed, you can throw him on the floor. But if a person is already on the floor, where you can throw him? So we are already on the floor. For Talibans, I understand there are hardships, problems, but they have been through these problems for a long time. So this time will also pass, but they will not, frankly speaking, accept such terms and conditions which would be humiliating for the Taliban, or
a drastic change for them.
Drastic change, or against Sharia laws.
All right. Finally, Alisherzai Sahab, what does 2022 hold for Afghanistan and Pakistan-Afghanistan relationship? We know we've had the OIC conference. We know we are going to have another conference with the foreign ministers of the OIC as well in March next year. And Pakistan has been endeavoring on all the different fora so that the world gets united to help Afghanistan. Do you foresee a more stable, a more prosperous Afghanistan in 2022?
First of all, I would like to say that it was a very good step on the part of the government of Pakistan to have called this OIC extraordinary meeting in Islamabad, and of course it provided some kind of relief, immediate relief to the Afghans, that the Saudi Arabia immediately promised to provide 1 billion Saudi Riyal. So it was a little bit of relief and a good step in a right direction. Moreover, I would also say here that our ambassador Mansoor Ali Khan in Afghanistan is playing a very active role. MashaAllah, he is a thorough professional and he is doing a wonderful job. As for my own assessment of the 2022 is concerned, I am very positive that it would result in much more stronger relationship between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and peace would return to Afghanistan. You will see it that and the peace and stability in Afghanistan directly impacts, on Pakistan. So I am absolutely positive that, having seen the capabilities of Taliban in restoring law and order, and then their gestures that their soil would not be used against any other country by any other power. So these are the promises, and they rarely would not.
They never back out of their promises.
Yes, absolutely. They never back out of their promises, and their track record in this regard is very good.
All right.
Yeah. So I hope and I am positive that the relations between Pakistan and Afghanistan would become much stronger, and it would result in prosperity for both the countries.
Inshallah ta'ala, we hope for the best, and we really hope that our brotherly country, that is Afghanistan, comes out of that decades of misunderstanding and turmoil that it has gone through and becomes a stronger, stable country that the people can live in an economically prosperous area, and that is going to result in an economically prosperous region, not just Afghanistan but also Pakistan and the entire region that includes so many other countries, sir.
Absolutely, it is absolutely true. Whatever you have said,
inshallah, we hope for the best, sir.
True, and
Alisherzai, we hope for the very best.
Inshallah, everything will be all right.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Umar Khan Alisherzai, former ambassador sahab, to have joined us and to have talked to us about Afghanistan from a very personal perspective, because of course, as you very well said, that you belong to the border areas between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Let's come to our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the national security policy. It has been approved by the Federal Cabinet after being greenlit by the National Security Committee. What does it bode as far as Pakistan's future is concerned and its relationship with its neighboring countries? More in the following report.
The growing challenges of fluctuating regional order and transformation of world order necessitated paradigm shift regarding national security. Addressing new realities of contemporary world, Pakistan rolled out its first ever national security policy unveiled at the 36th NSC meeting chaired by Prime Minister Imran Khan. Since revitalization of economic ultimately contributes towards the national security and people's welfare, so economic security is focal point of Pakistan's citizen-centric national security policy. Underlining seismic shift in country's national security apparatus, crucial elements of the national security are to increase trade and attract foreign investment, besides engaging the world as partner in the uplift of the social sector. Pakistan's focus is shifting from geopolitics to geoeconomics, and thus new economic security paradigm attaches great importance to enhancing trade and economic relations with partners and other countries. To unleash inclusive growth and economic potential of country, structural and policy reforms are required to usher peace, development partnerships and connectivity as envisioned by the national security policy. It is pertinent to mention here that during opening session of Margala Dialogue 2021 in Islamabad, Prime Minister Imran Khan termed equitable and inclusive development as important part of national security and noted that inclusive growth inequality becomes the basis of discord in society.
Syed Jaffery, who's a research associate with the CSSPR, joins us online. Thank you very much, Ali, to have joined us. Ali, how important is this national security policy, and how will it take Pakistan as becoming a stronger nation and also stronger relations with its neighbors?
Thank you very much, Umar, for having me here. I think the first thing that makes the security policy important is that this is the first consolidated document that looks at all facets of national security. I say this because it will reorient the debate on national security in Pakistan, which was primarily focused on military and border security. But Pakistan wants to, put its citizens at the center stage of security. Because if your citizens are not secure, if your citizens are not happy, and if they're not developed, you can't feel secure from within and without. And only if you are strong and cohesive from within, you can then branch out and you can expand your power base and potential, and that will allow you to improve your foreign policy potential going forward. It's very important to also understand that when you talk about security is a very dynamic concept.
Of course.
And in this day and age where information, where economy, and where data protection and other things of such kinds and types are becoming very important, we have to understand that if we do not focus on all elements that go on to constitute national security, we'll stand to lose. And this is why I believe a comprehensive document which will be available to the public is very essential for Pakistan. And this is something that could, policy documents provide guidelines to governments and institutions. So those guidelines were missing for the past 74 years, and this, I think, is a very good initiative that Prime Minister Imran Khan and the National Security Division have taken.
All right, Ali, kindly stay online. We've also been joined by Brigadier Retired Amjad Ali Sahab. He's a senior analyst. Amjad Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Amjad Sahab, it's a very, very important document that has been greenlit by the federal cabinet, also by the National Security Committee, and we are going to soon see some form of it in paper. But how important do you feel is Pakistan's security perspective looking at this policy document for the years 2022 to 2026?
Really, indeed, a very important document which was need of the time, and I'm astonished that for last 74 years, this nation was being run without any national security policy. National security policy, as has been said by one of our guests, per se is not only related to the defense policy or the border policy or the physical policy. It has many elements. And this used to have 7 elements, but with the changing environment, it has multiplied. Now there are many elements which focus on the security of this. The perspective of this nation in 2021 without the national security policy in the prevailing environment was certainly very difficult. And it will have a lot of effect on the national security. This document is approved and it has come to the public and the policy makers, and if it has come to those departments who really require it. It related to the economic security, environmental security, food security, border security, and other securities. Thereafter, when this document will be given, then the national security strategy will be formulated, and how to handle all these issues which has been mentioned in this. And these are necessarily related to the national interest vis-a-vis the national vision and the national objectives which are given by any government sitting there who is running the nation.
All right. Now, Brigadier Sahab, 2022 is just about to begin. Do you feel a policy document like this one, this national security policy, which has a lot of different aspects to it, that also includes the economic diplomacy as one of its focuses, is going to steer Pakistan in the right direction in the year 22? I'd like to start with you, then I'll go to my second guest.
It certainly will. The nation has to have a proper strategic direction. All the elements of the national security, they in unison work for the prosperity of the nation and achieving the objective of the nations. And that should be the prime interest of the nation, of any nation. No nation in the present era, in these prevailing environments, can exist without any proper national security policy. So this certainly will have a proper strategic direction to this nation in year 2022 and onwards.
All right. Ali, let's come to you. What do you feel 2022 is going to go and bode for Pakistan as far as its economic relations with other countries are concerned? Because, of course, as I said, one of the main focuses in this policy is also on economic diplomacy. Do you feel economic diplomacy is the need of the hour, and that the year 2022 could be a game changer for Pakistan in that respect in the framework of this national security policy?
Well, Umer, it all depends on us. As you rightly enunciate that economic security and economic diplomacy are two of the foci of this new security paradigm that Pakistan has brought to the fore. These two phenomena depend on our ability to offer something new to the world. For that, we need to undertake a series of structural and painful economic reforms. Because if we want to present ourselves as a country that is economically propitious for other nations to invest in, to do business with, and to allow for economics to give us strength in the foreign policy domain, we need to change the ways in which we worked before. We need to make sure that the environment is investment friendly. There are bureaucratic hitches that need to be resolved, and we also need to look at long-term planning and strategic thinking. The good thing about this policy is that a lot of long-term planning went into the making of this policy, and unfortunately, Pakistan has been stifled. Its growth has been, attenuated by the fact that we have looked at tactical and short-term, benefits rather than looking at the long-term effects of our policy choices. So one, that we need to carry out reforms. Two, we need to think long term. And three, we need to sell our story well. And we can only sell our story well if we do a good job and a much better job at home.
All right. Brigadier Saab, this policy document is going to guide foreign defense and economic policies and decision making, and will of course also include traditional and non-traditional security challenges, and it has also been said it is going to be revisited and reviewed on a regular basis. As the challenges also increase manifold with every passing year, do you feel that this would be the perfect guide for all the future stakeholders in Pakistan to move forward in a more stable manner? Brigadier Saab, did you manage to hear the question that I just asked?
Sorry, please, your signal were a bit disturbed. Please repeat the question.
All right, I'll rephrase the question. I was saying this policy document, this policy is going to guide foreign defense and economic policies and decision making, and it's going to include both traditional and non-traditional security challenges that it is going to tackle. As it will also be reviewed on a very regular basis and revisited, do you feel that this could be the perfect guide for all the stakeholders to further strengthen Pakistan in the coming years?
Certainly, yes, it will, because both the policies, these economic aspects and the defense aspects, are interlinked. No defense policy is complete till you are economically secure, and no economy is secure in any country till the time you have a proper defense policy. Defense policy already exists. It was just to be interfaced with the economic policy, and once these two policies are interlinked, and these are periodically revisited, visited and revisited, thereafter a proper state direction, because future war, I think this is what is my opinion, that future war, it all depends on how strong a nation economically is. Until the time we do not have a proper economic policy and we are not economically stable, we will not be able to defend anything. So far, the defense policy, which has its strong linkages with the economic policy, we have been successful in doing that. However, with this document, which is now quite comprehensive, and it covers all the aspects which a nation has, all the elements which are there in a nation, the elements of national power, when they'll be, united, when they'll take a one single shape and one single strategic direction, it certainly will have very good effects.
Thank you very much, Brigadier Amjad Ali Saab, to have joined us and to have talked to us extensively on this very important national security policy, and to have talked in a very candid manner. Thank you very much, sir. Finally, Syed Alisherzai Jaffery, 2022 to 2026 are going to be very important years as far as Pakistan is concerned, its relationship with the countries and the whole region, and also this national security policy that covers these very years. Do you feel Pakistan can formulate itself to be a very strong nation in the region thanks to a document such as this one?
Indeed, Pakistan certainly has the capability and the potential to become a very important player in the region. It is already a very important region player, as evidenced by its organization of the OIC summit recently. And it has to take on a leadership role in the region going forward, because unless it does not, then Pakistan would, miss out a lot on the very many opportunities
that is so true, and Pakistan cannot miss out on a lot on what is happening in the region. So many developments are happening, Syed Alisherzai Jaffery, that Pakistan needs a document such as this national security policy in order to strengthen itself internally and also strengthen its relationships with the other players. Thank you very much, Ali, to have joined us as well. And now finally, let's quickly go to our last story of the day, and that concerns Madagascar, that has experienced the world's first climate change famine. As per the United Nations report, there are famine-like conditions, what the UN says, and they are being driven by climate, not conflict. The UN estimates that around 30,000 people are experiencing the highest internationally recognized level of food security, that is level 5. Although Madagascar does experience a lot of droughts and is affected by change in weather patterns, what experts believe is that climate change can be directly linked to the current crisis. That is why it's extremely important for the world to get united and to work on this climate change that is affecting countries like ours, such as Madagascar. We need to move towards a stronger and a more food secure world. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories and segments. Stay tuned and get yourselves vaccinated if you haven't. Allah Hafiz.